Comics Coast to Coast is brought to you by patrons like you. If you'd like to help the show out, head on over to patreon.com/comicsc2c and show us a little bit of your love. Your sweet, sweet love. I mean, like $1 worth of love. And we'll take that love and hug it and squeeze it and make it do podcast things that you'll enjoy. So come on, see what happens.
This is Comics Coast to Coast.
All right, this is Brian Dunaway, and you're listening to Comics Coast to Coast, episode 319, the Christmas Special. With us tonight is Joel Duggan of Forge Publishing. Joel, Merry Christmas.
And the same to you, sir.
You know, we do this every year, and last year we did just regular old specials, but this year we're going to do something a little bit different. But I want you to explain to people in just a minute after we introduce Matt and Hammond what we're doing tonight on the show, if that's okay with you. You think you can explain it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask for Hammond's help because it was his idea, but yeah.
Oh, that's even a better idea. So let's introduce Joel Duggan. We already did that, and let's introduce Matthew DeSharm. Matt.
Hey there.
How are you?
I'm just dandy. I'm feeling mighty festive.
Yeah. Are you decorated with lights?
I have lights all over the damn place, and I love
it. I always suspected you were a light fella. Also with us back again this year, Hammond Chamberlain. You can visit Hammond over at jhammondc.com. He does soundography, and I heard it's like year 4 for one of his longest running podcasts. Hammond, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, Beyond the Playlist is now 4 years old.
That's a good listen. Great interviews over there. Do it. So Hammond, we are here to do our Christmas special, 2017. Can you tell us what exactly we're doing tonight?
So I had the idea of doing, so every TV show on the planet has their Christmas special. So I was thinking that if we went to the animated side, we could watch some classic animated Christmas specials that were part of the regular continuum of TV shows. So we did some discussing, and we came up with a few. Like I watched the Rocky and Bullwinkle one. There's a Garfield one that's out there. There are lots of them out there. Woody Woodpecker has one, but we chose 3 others.
Right. So this is outside. Okay, so we usually think of the Christmas specials as stuff like those one-offs that you would see, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and oh my gosh, there's so many, Frosty the Snowman. In other words, those were one-off specials that didn't really have a series behind them, unlike what you're saying, like Rocky and Bullwinkle. Usually you're watching the series and suddenly it gets towards December, and all of a sudden you're watching them in Christmas land, right? So that's kind of...
South Park and The Simpsons are really good modern-day examples of this.
Right. Every year, new holiday special. I'll tell you, Bob's Burgers always has me for Thanksgiving. I always go for the Bob's Burgers for Thanksgiving. Their Christmas stuff is still pretty good, but I definitely think food-centric in that Bob's Burgers is a little bit funnier. Did you guys see the most recent Bob's Burgers this past week with the monster storyline? They lost it. No, really?
No.
Were they
I'm not a Bob's Burgers fan. Never have been.
Oh my God!
I know. It's an uphill battle that I fight. Same thing with what's that other one? Archer.
So you're just averse to the guy's voice. You just don't like the voice actor's voice. Then is that what it is? Is it not because it's the same?
I find the whole show unfunny.
That's the same guy, Bob.
No, I realize Archer. It's the same guy, but it's just, right. it's the there's a certain try too hard with some of the modern cartoons that are aimed at adults, and it's not my thing.
You prefer something like He-Man, where they don't try at all.
Oh my God!
I'm just saying.
No, they try. They try all the drugs.
Yeah. They try to sell a lot of toys.
They definitely tried to sell a lot of toys. That's where all that stuff started from, right? I mean, from toys. It wasn't like we said, we have a great idea. Let's do this.
Christmas? What's that? An Earth holiday?
Christmas. What's that? Earth holiday from the King of Eternia. Those guys were definitely not trying too hard. December the 19th, back in 1985. He-Man and She-Ra, a Christmas special. Finally a meeting of the two of the brother and sister into a movie, right?
Really, really creepy siblings.
Oh, so creepy. I can't figure out who is creepier. Is it He-Man? Is it She-Ra? She-Ra. I can't quite tell you, but the relationship is probably the creepiest. They are in this special, which, by the way, you can watch on YouTube on the official He-Man channel. You can watch the Christmas special. However, do be warned that there are copious amounts of YouTube advertisements and not logical ones either. Not like, this was made for TV, so there's logical TV breaks where there's a fade out, and you would think you would put a good, nice, big YouTube ad there. No, it's more like every 2 minutes randomly is it's either a skip ad or it's weird. It's just peppered through it. I don't know, but I struggled through, and I did watch the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special, which I've seen before, probably on the internet. I don't know if I saw this back in the day. Hammond, did you see this live back in 1985?
I don't think so. I remember watching a couple of episodes of He-Man when I was a kid in 85, but I was on the cusp of aging out of it. And so if it was on because something else was coming on later. Right. And I don't remember paying a lot of attention to it. I never owned any of the He-Man toys. I think I was just on the other side of being too old for it.
How old were you in 85?
Let's see. I was born in 71, so someone else is going to do the math, and I'm not going to.
It's okay. You were
14.
You were
14. You were 14. Yeah, 14 would be older for that.
I was about to say I thought you were pretty much my age. I'm just a year younger than you, but there's a big difference in that rite of passage, that going from 12, 13, and 14 when you kind of start giving up on your toys. And I was watching He-Man, when I was 11 and 12 and right into this Christmas special. So I definitely had the toys.
I think I was given a Commodore 64 the same year. So
right.
I was busy learning how to do that instead of watching cartoons.
Were you playing any adventure games like He-Man adventure games? No, just
I played a fair amount of Zork.
Zork, yes, that was good stuff.
Nice.
Now, I can tell you. You didn't miss much with the He-Man toys because they were basically the identical same body and legs and everything, and they would just swap out the head and call it a different guy.
Yeah, head in the paint job.
Head in the paint job. Just like in the cartoon when the elephant man is decorating the tree, and I'm like, that's He-Man's body.
That's a really, really creepy moment.
Yeah, the elephant, and he's hanging out with Power Fist. He's got like a big metal hand or something.
See, Power Fist and the guy with the extending nose together hanging out is just a recipe for a joke.
Okay, so the story combined He-Man, who lives on Eternia, and She-Ra, who usually occupies the space known as Etheria, I think.
Etheria,
right. Now, Joel, I waited to get around you because I know you were a fairly avid He-Man fan back in the day.
Oh yeah, well I would have been 6. So when this came out, So like my first recollection of an action figure was a gift for my 5th birthday, which was the coveted combo pack of He-Man and Battle Cat in the same. It was the same big box,
right?
So.
Now, was that transforming Cringer as well? Did you get the Prince Adam? Did it do all that?
No, that's the thing. There wasn't. I mean, Prince Adam was a figure that I got later, which again was just He-Man with a white shirt and a felt vest that they shipped with it,
and a mousy voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the funny thing about that mousy voice. If you go back and watch the cartoon, it's on Netflix in Canada, and I've watched a couple of the regular episodes just to kind of see if it holds up, which it doesn't. Is that even when Adam is using his mousy voice, they still put the He-Man echo on him?
Yes.
It's just really funny. And I had forgot watching the show that when He-Man speaks, he has an echo, like they give him like this.
Yeah, he's walking around in a reverb chamber.
Yeah, it's really quite funny. But no, I had the toys, but I also came in and I stuck with the the toys long enough to be into the cooler toys, like the ones that actually had action. Like, there was punch action. There was Mecha Neck. I think his neck extended. There's there was one. Yeah, there was one guy that had like you could fill him with water and press on his head, and he would spit. Like he had like a little pump action to him. So
every gimmick in the book, man. That's what He-Man was.
Absolutely. But they weren't just like, so they weren't just plastic figures by the time I was playing with them. They were all right. Like they were. I thought
by the time you had them.
Do you guys remember the stinky one? I think it was Skunk Man or something.
Yes.
Of course, only boys would buy something stinky willingly.
Every He-Man toy had a gimmick, and my favorite was, and he was a primary character too. It wasn't. I did like the Ram Man. He was one of my favorites because you would push his body down, and he would jump up because he had those retractable legs. But But then there was the other one. I can't remember what his name was, but it was definitely a primary character, and he had like a multi-face. And so Man-E faces, yeah, and you could turn his face around. And I was kind of disappointed that I didn't see some of my favorite characters in this episode, this Christmas special. There was a lot of characters that I had never seen before, and I don't know if it's just because it was later, because He-Man came out first, and then after the success of that, they I guess Mattel, right? Did the toys for these guys? Wasn't that He-Man? Yeah, it was Mattel. Was the toy manufacturer behind this. And so they also targeted women or young girls with She-Ra. And, of course, being a kid, 12, 13, I watched She-Ra some when it was on, but, not as a big a fan. So there was a lot of Etheria? What was it again? Etheria. I can't remember that.
I had a younger sister, so I knew all that stuff.
Right. And so when it used to come on, it used to be a He-Man, and then they would have it with She-Ra follow up that, or did they like alternate? Do you remember?
For
what? In Canada. Was it He-Man on in the afternoons? When did He-Man come on for you? Was it
jeez.
Like every day of the week?
I don't remember at all what time it was on. It might have been a Saturday morning thing.
Right. Well, it wasn't for us because this was unique. He-Man was the first straight to syndicate cartoon that I was ever aware of. So they made like 60 something episodes that would go across a 3-month span, and then they would start back over, and it would come on every afternoon, 5 days a week.
Wow.
Maybe it was 4 days a week. But it was almost every day.
Yeah.
Right. And then they tried to mix She-Ra into that mix. And I can't remember if they rotated every 3 months or if they played them back to back. There's some really good stuff on Wikipedia that'll kind of tell you when these things aired. I'd be interested to know that.
I don't remember what day of the week, but I seem to recall like you'd watch a He-Man episode and then She-Ra would come on right after.
Right. Because you got to make that. You got to make that sale, right? It's like, here's He-Man. You like He-Man? Oh, look, here's She-Ra. She rides a horse with wings, and she kind of does the same thing. She does is it the Honor of Grayskull?
That I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
It's
Come on.
It's been a really long time since I've seen an episode of She-Ra. This is one of those things that I just never went back and looked up.
Did you watch this one back in the day, like first run, Joel?
Yeah. So I tried and I couldn't get through it for the podcast. There's something about me. There's something about me and bad animation. I can't do it.
I'm going to argue that this is not okay.
Oh,
maybe bad. No, I wouldn't even say bad. Necessary animation. I think this is necessary animation.
Pinning it on the animation is loose. It's not a good episode. Like I can still go back and watch an episode of He-Man as to what it was and understand that it's not fantastic, but it's still a product of its time. But this was just
as content creators. Put yourself, Joel. Let's say you're 30s, 40s. In 1985, and you're an animator, and the market is kind of getting tough. The animation market. They're really the only shows that are really getting sold for animation is some Saturday morning cartoons. Disney's not doing that great right now. So as an animator, you've got some producers who are going, you know what? Mattel came to us. They want us to make a cartoon based on some toys. And I told them we would do 60-something episodes a year. What do you guys think? We got to do something. How are we going to fit all this crap in? And so you start making all these really unique decisions about how to get that many episodes out. For the time frame they had to put into this thing, I was actually going back and I was actually pretty impressed.
Seeing as I would be the only animator working on it, then yeah.
Right. Well, you and a bunch of other people, a bunch of other out of work actors. Animators. So really for the amount of product they were putting out, it's freaking amazing that they actually make coherent stories. Especially this one, it was actually fairly coherent. Even though I was kind of going, who the crap is this Prime fella? I don't remember. Skalaxin Prime at all, but that was more She-Ra. I think it wasn't Skalaxin. Hordak Prime.
Yeah.
Horde Prime. Oh, Hordak. I remember.
I remember Hordak,
which is a knockoff of the Space Giants Rodak. Remember him, Brian?
Right. Yeah, I do. And so this interesting. I don't know. I was actually impressed. That's all I got to say. I didn't think. I thought I was going to go into this to see this He-Man She-Ra special, and I thought it was going to be just the worst thing ever. And I gotta say that since I've grown up and I know what had to be done to put this thing together, even though it is sometimes I feel like I need to be taking drugs to understand what's going on, I'm still pretty impressed. I'm still pretty impressed.
The thing that struck me was just the music cues and the reuse of music cues. And the reuse of music cues. And some of them were familiar from other cartoons of the era. And
easily.
It brought back all kinds of weird animated memories for me hearing some of these music cues. The silly one, the fun one, the playing one, the action one,
mischief one. Yeah. No, there's a point at the beginning of the cartoon when He-Man and Man-at-Arms are launching a space probe or a satellite or something.
No, it's not a space probe or satellite. It's
called Sky Spy.
Sky Spy.
Yeah, something to spy on Skeletor. But as they pan over to it, it's less ominous or serious music. It's all kind of boundy and fun because Orko is involved in that part of the plot. And yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, Hammond. But like I like as the camera pans and you hear the music, you're like, uh-oh, what's gonna happen? And the things that you subconsciously processed, as a kid that stick with you.
But that's the thing. It is such a, so if you looked at it artistically and said, by our modern sensibilities, is it engaging me? Is it inspiring me? Is it doing certain things that we've come to know as quality TV, not having everything handed to you? That's fine and all, but I feel like their message was clear. I felt like I never got lost in the story. I felt like I knew where I was going. I felt like I felt the emotions I needed to feel, even though they were very shallow. I felt like I was feeling the emotions I needed to feel. And I've got to give them credit for putting together something that was actually coherent in such a short time span.
I will give Brian credit for not getting lost in a straight line.
Right. Thank you very much. I said,
exactly what that story is a straight line.
It is such a straight line, but it works, and it uses a common theme that's used during these specials a lot, where you're in this fantasy land, and they want to work Christmas in, so they had to bring in a couple of kids, right? Had to bring in a couple of Earthling kids, and that's exactly what they did. They brought in a couple of Earthling kids, like Joel said, the spy ship. The Sky Spy that Orko hijacked. He ended up teleporting himself to Earth using some of his magic. By the way, he dropped his book right away, and I remember thinking, when he got on the ship, he dropped his book, and that's a spell book. And unless you actually watched He-Man, you might not know what he was reading. But I knew what he was reading. So anyway, they flew to Earth. Orko flew to Earth, ran into some kids that had gotten lost while looking for a Christmas tree. and they end up teleporting everybody back to Eternia. And I got to say, I was a little concerned at that point for the kids' well-being. But turns out everything turned out okay, because they go on another trip and get lost again. And this time, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, they was out actually singing, weren't they? Isn't that right, Matt?
Spoilers.
By the way, all the Christmas specials from the series that we watched, no one could sing. Everybody was the worst.
Even the Smurfs sucked.
The Smurfs sucked the worst. And mainly because there was so much of it. Are we going to get into this? Do we want to talk a little bit more about He-Man before we get into the Smurfs, or we're going to jump right? We're going to hop back and forth.
Well, I will say one thing about the He-Man special. I felt it was a little bit more surprising. I had no idea what the hell was going to happen from one moment to the next. Like I never watched She-Ra growing up, so I had no idea the horse talked. So suddenly the horse just starts talking out of nowhere. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
He did.
It's like this horrible makeshift English voice. Oh, She-Ra, what's going on over there?
I had the same experience. I did not recall. I remember her having her little winged horse, her Pegasus thing, Rainbow Pegasus. And I was the same way, because I thought at first, I said, oh, they just kind of did some kind of weird Scooby-Doo kind of talk for a second. They're not going to do that again. But no, that thing has a couple of I had a couple of rolls. And I don't know, man. That was kind of freaky. I'm with you.
It's like Alfred at a unicorn Pegasus.
Yeah. Oh, and then the Beast Monster. Can we talk about the Beast Monster? Okay, so yeah, I did give it props for being clear, but sometimes they did kind of talk down to me a little bit. The Beast Monster? I mean, come on. What did I expect for naming from a show called He-Man?
Right.
I don't know who was naming this stuff, but they were definitely there was. You want to talk about assembly line type animation? There was assembly line naming in He-Man and She-Ra.
Their naming conventions were pretty on the nose.
Yeah. Let's see. So what were the robots called? Do you guys remember? That showed up about midway through that I'd never seen before.
Mandroids or something.
Mandroids. there was something about it was Monstroids.
Monstroids.
Yeah,
they were basically like half-assed Transformers.
They were. And I really got excited because one of the Monstroids looked like he was about to transform into something really cool. So the first transformation you see, like I said, this must be a She-Ra storyline that I never really saw. But the Monstroid, he started to transform. I thought he was going to turn into a jet or something, and he didn't. He just kind of changed to a different shape.
It just leaned forwards.
Yeah, so it was more like the GoBots.
The GoBots.
Or was it more like the other things? What were the do you know the characters' names were that were they were like the enemy of the Monstroids? They were like little short monsters, or they were little short robots.
The robot Care Bears.
The robot Care Bears, yeah, the robot. They reminded me of GoBots. What they were called? What were they called?
Maybe those were Mandroids or mech.
Oh yeah, I think those were the Mandroids. I think you're right, because now that was a little less straightforward, because there was one that was like a trike, and one of them had claws that could cut through prison bars.
Well, I would imagine they were probably tiptoeing around all kinds of trademark stuff, because He-Man was a Mattel property,
right,
and Transformers were Hasbro.
Right.
So I'd imagine anything close to Transformers had to be like really. You can't mention Transform at all in the name, right?
They probably had to shy away from the Me-I Joes.
Yeah. Was GoBots Mattel, or was that?
Oh, that's a good
Hasbro?
Question.
Hasbro. It was Hasbro as well.
I think it was Hasbro. I think you're right.
Yeah, I just looked it up quick. It was Hasbro as well. So like they couldn't even go that way. Like they had to steer clear of both GoBots and Hasbro and Transformers. Like that's rough.
They weren't androids. They're called Manchines.
Manchines. That's it. The Manchines.
That's like something you'd buy from a TV ad at 2:00 in the morning.
That reminds me of another classic cartoon from the area, the Monchi Cheese. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, the Monchi Cheese. Yeah.
That's so
man. Wow.
Oh, by the way, I didn't know this about She-Ra, but apparently her sword can turn into a rope.
I do remember that.
I remember it from this special. I don't remember seeing it anywhere else. Like I said, I can't say that I'm nearly the aficionado in the She-Ra. Now, I've watched my fair share of She-Ra, but I don't remember much about it. I've actually gone back and rewatched a good bit as an adult. The He-Man series. It was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it still is on Netflix in the U.S., but it stayed on there for quite a while. And I would turn it on in the afternoons and just let it run and wait for the recycled animation that is I Have the Power.
Yeah.
I love that.
Before we jump into the Smurfs, I do want to bring up the fact that the link that you shared with us to do it's our cartoonchristmas.com.
Yes. Oh, yes. Please do go to cartoonchristmas.com.
I love the fact that they rate everything with Jesus Factor, Santa Present, and Christmas and Xmas Spirit.
Yeah, I didn't see that part. Let's see.
It's the very bottom.
Is it the very bottom? Yes. If you have not visited this is a
across the board.
This is a great resource. Now, I think you didn't you point this out to me to begin with?
No,
So this is a great.
Yeah. I also sent you the link to the one that just any Christmas special. It was any Christmas specials at all.
Okay, so I must have found this one later. This one is called a cartoonchristmas.com, and it's a blog with just all these Christmas specials, and they break it down. They got great screenshots. You can see it on the screen if you're at YouTube. I've been kind of going through there, but I do like the Jesus Factor. There is only a single cross out of 5 crosses of the Jesus Factor. They mention in the story when they're talking to the Earth humans. Okay, the Earth humans. They first of all they meet Orko in the woods while they're lost and have no problem with getting on his UFO. Orko, the Prime Directive, man. The Prime Directive. Why are you letting these kids on your ship? But when they're in there, they tell Orko all about, they kind of fade out on it, but they start telling the story of Jesus' birth. They also talk about a little bit about Santa Claus and stuff too. And a really creepy scene later on in this series, which you may have seen probably just as an animated GIF, but He-Man dresses up as a Santa Claus, and it's weird because he's still all buff underneath there, and he wears the fat suit, but the fat suit is like really high. It's like middle of his gut, and it's just really disturbing looking.
Speaking of disturbing, why don't we jump into the Smurfs? Okay,
so I don't want to jump right into the Smurfs because that's just creepy. But by the way, one last thing about He-Man before we get into the Smurfs. The end scene where the kids are finally returned to the humans and the parents don't want to hear about their adventure. They can wait until tomorrow. Santa's coming tonight, and then the kids, in classic cartoon fashion, put their parents' jaw to the floor by flying by with their jet belts. He-Man, I gotta say, He-Man technology is the most fascinating thing you will have seen ever.
Yeah, I recall the attack track. You guys remember
attack
that?
track, yes. And apparently Man at War has a beam for anything. He's like, Man at Arms. Man at Arms, what did I say? Man at War? Man at War.
Yeah.
Man at Arms.
Yes.
Love his costume, by the way. All right. That's enough of the He-Man. He-Man, She-Ra, Christmas special. If you're in Canada, watch it on Netflix. Maybe in the U.S. I don't know. Definitely on YouTube. If you can stomach the ads, check it out. Also, a cartoonchristmas.com. We've been referring some to this site. It's a very good site if you want to go back and watch some of those holiday specials and get just you don't even have to watch them. You can just go through here and read the blog. I would suggest watching them, but whatever. Okay, so Hammond, dive into the Smurfs.
All right. So I just have a couple questions to kind of get us started.
Do it.
With the Smurfs, why does Gargamel want to eat them?
Okay, so Gargamel wants to eat the Smurfs because then he will turn into a young, attractive man.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding. I don't remember the story. There's a reason why he wants to eat the Smurfs. I'm not sure if he had one and they're tasty and he wants to get more. All I remember about that is I remember that he made Smurfette so that he could entice the Smurfs into coming to his house because he was tired of looking for the Smurfs village, which he did every week.
So he made the Smurfs?
Well, he made Smurfette. Smurfette was made specifically, right, because the Smurfs, they were fine. They were, just hanging out, being bros, doing their thing. And then and Gargamel was like, well, how can I destroy them? I'll insert one Smurfette into their ecosystem, and that will destroy them. And it almost did. It almost did.
Okay, and then what was that one with the glasses? Is that Suck Up Smurf? Because that's
Brainy Smurf is my
Smurf.
He is my spirit animal. Papa Smurf always says.
Yeah. And then, okay, we mentioned the song. It's bad, and they sang it a lot, but that's a dark story with kidnappings, fires, and sacrifices, and devils and whatnot. It's grim.
So we're back in our mythical land of Smurf-a-lee. And so we've got to, if we're going to introduce Christmas, we're going to have to bring in some humans. So we did that. We brought in some human kids, and they had some weird names. Like, what were the names? You remember? It was something very like Cindy and something. I forget.
Cindy and Timmy or something.
It was something better than that, but yeah, it was something like that. And apparently the Smurfs takes place. By the way, French cartoonists created the Smurfs, and apparently the Smurf timeline is, I guess, during the 1800s. Is that you guys think that's about right? And I've never looked at any of the real lore, but it kind of seems like it's definitely not modern, right?
No.
Like medieval, maybe even? Is it even further back than that?
Might be. I don't know.
It just kind of has that. It has that kind of general medieval sort of feel to it.
It is medieval. I'm looking at it now. Yeah. Okay. So the song. What was the name of the song? It was like "Give Hope a Chance." What was it? It sounded something like John Lennon would sing, right?
Let's not offend John from the grave.
Oh, but it was okay. So they didn't start out singing that song, but they were definitely started out decorating the Christmas tree with acorns that were lit up by magic. A lot of magic in the Smurfs. I'm not sure exactly what was going on. Now, me and Hammond definitely watched this. Joel, did you check this out? If you couldn't stomach He-Man, I don't know how you could even put a spoonful of Smurfs.
No, I mean, I remember seeing it when I was a kid. So when I read the kind of like synopsis review article, like a lot of it kind of came back to me. I remember the big pot of like pink stuff and all that kind of, all those kind of visual things are just going to stay with you. I mean, these were things that we didn't necessarily like as kids, but they were on in that giant block of like 2-hour Christmas specials where you wanted to watch Frosty and you wanted to watch Rudolph, but then Smurfs is on in between and stuff like that. So I remember that. I do remember liking Smurfs as a really young child as a regular Saturday morning cartoon, but as per usual, the Christmas special, just I remember it, but I don't really have any distinct fond repeat watch memories of it.
right.
Yeah. The one that the only episode or the only thing about Smurfs that really sticks out in my mind was this one where it was some sort of virus or something that was going around. It was a purple Smurf that would bite another Smurf on the tail.
Gnap.
And then they would it was like a zombie apocalypse. Then that Smurf would also turn purple, and then they would hop around screaming "Gnat" and then try to bite other Smurfs.
28 Smurfs later.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It was very, very similar, but it has that kind of like that sound effect, kind of like that sticks in your brain forever. That "Gnat," kind of like hopping around and stuff. I don't know. It's funny. Like I often. This conversation tonight makes me want to like ask my parents when I see them at Christmas time, like, so do you remember the Smurfs? Like, do you remember, what did you think? Like when I was 5 and you were 45, like what did you think of the Smurfs?
It's curious. I think about the same thing. I often want to go back and ask my mom, hey mom, how much did I make you suffer? Because I feel like it was probably a lot, because as an adult, if I turned the Smurfs on, if my kids were watching the Smurfs, I'd be like, oh, please turn that crap off. Because, I mean, they literally change every word to Smurf this and Smurf that. And so...
What the Smurf are you talking about, Smurfy?
What is Smurf? Yeah, and it's just all this... It's just... Oh, it's such a simple show and is so full of just goodness. Which is more saccharine, this or Care Bears? What do you think?
I remember liking Care Bears.
Right?
Yeah.
I think
I
the Care
remember
Bear
liking
stare. I think the Care Bear stare actually gave me cavities.
I remember actually going to the theaters to see the Care Bear movies. I feel like that might have been like my sister's birthday party or something, but I do remember actually going to see them in the theater. And I also recall, now I could be recalling this incorrectly, Care Bears was better animated than most cartoons of its kind.
It was a little bit, it seemed like it had a little bit bigger budget because it also was a toy vehicle, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so
what was its companion thing? The tree pets, there had other animals, like the raccoon.
Oh, the fur anifers.
There's Care Bears, and then there was like they had furry friends. I don't remember what they were called though.
Was it Furry Friends?
No, well, I'm just it's just an observation. Right. Trying to think if there was anything that they had specifically.
The raccoon and all these other. I remember
there was a lion and
Pride Heart
Lion.
Oh, that's right. That was like after Furry Friends, Pride Heart. Was that what it was called? Our Furry Friends, something like that.
I'm not really sure.
It was something like that. Anyway, yeah, I know what you're talking about. That was a good bit later on, though, wasn't it? I can't recall. My mind is slipping after getting the saccharine smurfs of and I gotta say they always jump the shark in these specials because they have to somewhat, but it always seems they have to introduce, just like in He-Man, that introduce an even badder character than the typical bad character. So Gargamel is our usual foil to the Smurfs. He's always trying to find the Smurfs village and destroy them. Sometimes he seems to want to eat them. Sometimes he just wants to destroy them because their joy is just too much and it drives him nuts. And in this one, there's actually a hooded figure that seems to be the embodiment of evil and sends out wolves to attack the children after their grandpa wrecks their sleigh, right? What wrecks the sleigh? Did I miss something? Because to me, this wasn't as straightforward. Maybe I looked away too long as the He-Man.
I think the dog came out and scared the horses.
That's what happened.
Yeah,
you're right. And
the
so
wolf or the dog or whatever it was.
Right. So we got a couple of kids again out in the icy cold, just trying to get a little Christmas cheer, a little eggnog with some Smurfs, and so. Yeah, the Smurfs step up. They're back at the Smurfs village, by the way, which is impossible to find unless you're anybody but Gargamel, because apparently every week somebody is always stumbling upon the Smurfs village, it seems, except for Gargamel, who is actively trying to find them.
Well, he seems to find it this time, and he dries it up.
Well, he found it because he got instructions from the greater evil.
Oh, right.
Who said you gotta head over here and then you gotta read this little poem that I wrote for you and then destroy everything. But that's okay because go ahead.
So I was gonna say, so Darth Sidious helped Darth Vader find where they were hiding out. Right.
He did. And so then they go about this is just the weirdest Smurf logic in the world, which is, the Gargamel does a little bit of double dealing. The villagers have come out to find the kids. The uncle has come out to find the kids, and of course, Gargamel is also dealing with the devil, apparently of some sort, to try to get the kids into his possession. And he betrays the devil and ends up being into a ring of fire situation right near the end, where the kid and Gargamel and everybody is surrounded by this ring of fire. Where were they going? Were they about to teleport somewhere? Did anybody really understand what was going on?
I think, frankly, he was going to sacrifice them.
I think you may be right. That's where it gets a little bit scary.
It was grim. This was a very dark story for a bunch of blue characters.
Right. And so the Smurfs show up after finding a note on the sleigh, and anyway, they show up and they sing the song. Does anybody remember the song? Can you sing the song?
Nope, not gonna do it.
No. All right, Joel, sing the song.
Not a singer.
All right, fine. Matt?
Well, this is actually one that I do not recall. I watched the Smurfs, but I somehow never managed to see the Christmas one.
Right. You didn't miss much. It's only 20 minutes. And
It's the longest 27 minutes of your life.
Is it 27 minutes? I thought it was like 20 minutes. 21 minutes, I think.
Okay, whatever. It felt like 4 years.
Yeah, most of these specials were like around 21, 22 minutes because you had to get at least 8 minutes worth of commercials in there for holiday toys, and also all these specials during the 80s. Every intro had to be at least a minute long, right? I mean,
a full song.
Yeah, a full song, at least a minute. So,
any chance to recycle animation, they used it.
You dang Skippy, because we got to sell some. We got to sell some cereal, and this is how we're going to do it. So,
we're going to Smurf Berry Crunch.
Can I say just one thing about the animation though? I mean, Smurfs are Smurfs. You've seen the animated Smurfs, you know what it looks like. It's kind of a throwback to some earlier comic strip type art, because that's what it's based off, right? It's off of some older comic books from like the 50s French. And so there's one scene in particular, and it's during the singing. So when Papa Smurf lines everybody up, by the way, the kids think this entire time they keep calling Papa Smurf Santa Claus.
Yep.
Because he does look like Santa Claus.
Except he's blue and tiny.
A frostbit Santa Claus, right? He's a little bit frostbitten. So there's a scene where they're in a chorus. And as someone who draws and illustrates, in that scene with the chorus, they have all the characters kind of bunched up. For some reason, all their faces look like they just got through eating like big old thing of fruitcake. Did anybody else? I mean, their faces were like swollen. They were just larger out of proportion. If you go to our cartoonchristmas.com and if you just scroll down, you'll see the image I'm talking about. So even if you haven't seen, even if you watched the show, it's this weird scene. I don't know who animated this one part, and it was like, yeah, it's too many mouths moving. This is going to be, everybody's face needs to be super big so that we can show their mouths move or something. I'm sure it was a decision that was made because they had to. But anyway, yeah, I didn't enjoy this one as much. To me, this didn't hold up and embody the Smurfs from what I remember. But the website did give it a Jesus factor of 1, and apparently very little Santa, even though there was Papa Smurf being called Santa Claus a couple of times. But a lot of Christmas spirit.
Yeah, well, not a lot.
Well, more than 2.
2 red balls.
Little Christmas spirit. I liked it. Overall, I did not care for this one. I'm all about the He-Man She-Ra Christmas special. I might watch it again. We watched a third cartoon, me and Hammond, and I don't know if Joel, was you able to stomach the X-Men? Have yourself a Morlock Little Christmas?
That one I actually didn't have time for. It wasn't a trial and error. It was showtime. So
exactly.
I have no more time. Darn.
Shoot.
Okay,
Matt,
so I just want to throw out. Okay, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah. Matt, how about you? Did you get a chance to see this one?
I did not. Same as with the Smurfs. I used to watch X-Men,
right.
but somehow never got to see the Christmas one.
And that got recycled for the first movie by Michael Kamen.
What?
The
first movie? Oh, nice.
Yeah, Michael Kamen recycled that for the closing credits as they're playing chess there at the end, and he goes, "I'll always be here," or whatever. And they zoom out from the plastic prison, and they start playing that theme, and it's a different take on it, but it's the same music.
I loved this. I loved that opening, and I always loved there's 2 Marvel intros that I really loved. And don't get me wrong, and you're probably going to think, oh, you're talking about the Spider-Man? No, I hated that one. That one was the suck.
Spider-Man and his friends?
I hated I loved the Hulk intro, the Hulk intro one they used to have in the animated Hulk.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. And but I think it's got to be tops. This X-Men, it has to be the tops for all the ones in my mind. I'll hum it occasionally, just going down the street. 1995, December the 23rd. Have yourself a Morlock Little Christmas. Xmas is what they put in the title because it's X-Men. Get it?
Yep.
X-Men. Xmas. Ha!
Yeah. So did you notice that the only times they actually used powers were when Cyclops shot broccoli out of the air and when they healed the one guy with Wolverine's blood?
Okay, so you're going to have to make some context for the broccoli. So what Hammond is referring to is there is a squabble in the kitchen a la family get together, which everybody knows the X-Men live in the mansion, and so they're kind of close quarters and they're like a family. But apparently, Gambit is his Cajun self is in the kitchen working with Jean Grey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jean Grey is all super like kitchen's mine, man. Get out, and Gambit's all like really the Gambitist Cajun. Oh, I hate listening to him. I hate it.
I don't know.
It's so annoying.
I didn't enjoy the perfume lady more.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. But anyway, he uses some Gambit style. How does he make the broccoli bigger? What kind of powers was that? I didn't even know that was in his.
And it was like a Cialis broccoli.
I don't even know. Maybe he put some rub on it.
Yeah,
I don't know how it got
broccoli.
Right. He put some rub on it and it got really big. And so anyway, there was an argument later on, and Cyclops had to end that. He had to squash that brotherly love with some hot action. And you're right. He did that. What was the other time they used the powers?
The only other powers they used were when they blood transfusioned Wolverine into Leech.
Leech, yeah, the Morlock. So the Morlock storyline, I love the Morlock storyline from the comics, continues here. This was after Storm was, I guess she was like the leaders of the Morlock. She had won that right.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but I remember vaguely her being anointed the leader of the Morlocks, and then she kind of blew them off.
Yeah, because she's like, I'm already doing enough. I'm having a whole big argument with Cyclops about who's leading the X-Men. I don't want too much pressure. I'm just going to wear my cheetah costume. Why was she wearing that cheetah outfit? I don't remember that being part of the show.
Non-canonical dress of some of these people.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to give you one more power scene though.
Okay.
Rogue lifts up Jubilee to put the star on the tree.
That's right. You're dead right. I totally forgot about that.
Totally.
Weird is it's bad weather, and Jubilee's usually wearing that yellow trench coat, and in this episode she's not. Right.
Interesting. And yeah, you're totally right about the perfume lady coming at Logan. Logan did not care for that. It was not good. Joel, do you remember this Christmas special at all? I mean, like,
no. This is an example of something that I didn't watch.
Oh, you didn't
like even
watch...
as a kid. Yeah, no, I was not. I
was in college and I was watching this.
Yeah, no, I just was not my thing. I think it's because I missed X-Men. Like I just, for whatever reason, in terms of comics and pop culture and stuff like that, X-Men was something that just went right by me. It wasn't until the Bryan Singer movies that came out that I really, like, I remember seeing X-Men on TV, but I never was a fan. I knew of it, but I never read the books, never watched the cartoon.
Was it because what happened between the Guardian and Wolverine? Is that your problem?
Mm-mm.
Alpha Flight.
No idea what you're talking about.
Alpha Flight, Canadian team.
I know what Alpha Flight is, but
got in a fight with Marvel. I mean, got in a fight with Wolverine. That's how they started the series. Okay, yeah. You weren't X-Men. I got you. I believe you now.
Yeah, like way over my head.
1995. How old would you been, Joel?
95 for 16.
Oh, 16. So see. Yeah, that might be outside. You were probably watching other things, right? You were probably watching Saved by the Bell, right?
No. Nope, not that either. I hated that show. I'm trying to think about what I would have been into at 16 as far as television goes. No, wish I was that lucky. No, I think, at 16 I would have been playing a lot of music. So, because I remember, you were talking earlier about transitioning that age where you transition out of action figures and toys and into more kind of like teenager stuff. And I feel like it was around 14 for me. I remember still owning and enjoying Ninja Turtle toys.
Oh.
But that would have died off when I was around 10 or 12. But then after that, because when I was in junior high, I distinctly remember Christmas lists were more about guitar lessons and a new amp and that kind of stuff. It wasn't like it was filled with toys.
Interesting. I could see that. So,
wait a minute. I forgot there's one other power moment, Brian.
oh, what was it?
That's when the Morlock turns himself into a table.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That will happen. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of power usage. You're right. But it was to me, it was probably more typical of a lot of the X-Men episodes. I didn't really feel like, even though those took place during Christmas, I felt like this addressed a lot of the long-term storytelling they were doing. It fit in with the series, whereas like the Smurfs was kind of like it's a one-off. It's like, what are we doing? We don't even know. Who's this bad guy? We're bringing in somebody we don't even know. The He-Man She-Ra thing, it was kind of like, we're going to bring the two worlds together and we're going to celebrate the twins' birthdays 2 days before for Christmas. We also, by the way, we're really saying they were not born on Christmas. Don't get us wrong. That we've already had enough grief about people, about Christians saying that about He-Man. I don't know if you remember all that hubbub back in the 80s, but there was a big hubbub about him calling themselves the Masters of the Universe and stuff. Look that up on YouTube. Look for some.
I totally don't remember that.
Oh, absolutely. So it was they were trying to avoid that. This one, like I said, X-Men kind of fit in with their overall storytelling. It just happened to happen at Christmas, and they were really focusing on Jubilee's character as a new X-Men, and her, relaying her normal lifestyle with these mutants. And furthermore, the Murloc whole storyline they were wrapping up as well. But where was I going with that? I forget. I was going somewhere.
This actually kind of reminded me of the Saved by the Bell episode where Zach saves the homeless girl and her dad.
Right. I can see that. I think I've been reading this wrong in this chart, because I've been saying it only had one cross, but I think it actually is the opposite. This one has a Jesus factor of none, so there's no Jesus talk in this one, and some Santa. So, okay, so I am reading it right. Okay, so no Jesus, a little Santa, but a lot of Christmas spirit. There's a scene where Jubilee talks Wolverine to going into the mall, and that's where they run into the perfume lady. If you haven't seen this one, good luck. You're probably going to have to purchase this one, because you can watch it very haphazardly on YouTube. They've modified the speed and put it down a little corner of our graphic and stuff. So you might have a little hard time finding this. It was on Hulu until just the last year or so, because I remember watching these on Hulu, but they've apparently pulled it from there as well.
Well, now it's going to be on the new Disney streaming site, probably.
Oh, that's true. We didn't mention that. So this episode, Disney just struck its deal with to move forward with the purchase of Fox, and so the X-Men will be coming back into the same house now that Disney owns Marvel, and they would bring in the X-Men back in to that whole house in the Marvel Disney universe, as well as the Fantastic Four. So that's going to be coming back. So I'm looking forward to those Christmas specials.
Did they get to keep Deadpool, or is he moving over there too?
Is Deadpool? Yeah. Is it Fox or it was Fox? Yeah, right. So Fox. I'm assuming so. Yeah. So they're going to they'll get Deadpool as well. But that's all contingent on in regulations, because they'll have to look at the government have to look and make sure this deal is okay and it's not going to be some kind of conflict. But it looks like it's moving forward right now. Matt, you like
the talk on Reddit is that since anything Disney related, anything female becomes a Disney princess. Yeah. So that means the Queen Alien from Aliens, technically Disney princess.
I like that idea. Now, okay, so that was our big 3 episodes that we kind of covered for our Christmas special. We got just a few more minutes left before Hammond has to cut out and do some Christmas shopping, I suppose. Does anybody else have any thoughts on their history of Christmas specialing, their favorite series of animation? No? Then
I'll jump in and say that I really do like the South Park one with Mr. Hanky, and I love the Simpsons ones. They're great.
I gotta say, the Simpson ones are good. The only one that I really, really just loved is Satan's Little Helper, which was actually the first episode of The Simpsons. It premiered as a Christmas special, and I really enjoyed that. Some of the later ones not as happy with. I definitely like their Treehouse of Horror stuff. I'd like to do maybe that for Halloween one year. We could talk all about those for so many of them. I actually like the Ren and Stimpy Christmas special. That was the one where he has where something comes out of Stimpy's butt, and that was good times. That was really good times. So yeah, head on over to acartoonchristmas.com. This blog site. Thank you guys, because it helped me kind of locate and find the ones that I was really wanting to watch, because there are a ton of Christmas specials for animation series. If you have a favorite yourself, hit us up, guys at comicscoasttocoast.com, and tell us your favorite Christmas series special. That's going to do it. Hammond, thank you for joining us again this year.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is the third year I've done this one. I'm really excited about it.
It really is. It's very exciting. And tell everybody one more time where they can visit you and what you do.
Well, you can catch me on Twitter at jhammondc. I do soundography with Brian Ibbett. I do Beyond the Playlist with J Hammond C, which is my interview show. And I do the Climb Out Network, which is based around helping people find and maintain sobriety.
Ooh, very nice. I like it. Joel Duggan of Forge Publishing.
Well, you can go to forgepublishing.com. I don't know if we can guarantee that any books or art that you buy from Piper Thibodeau will get there for Christmas, but it'll get there shortly after for sure. It all depends, I guess, on the bottlenecks and what country you're in. And then as far as my stuff is concerned, just look up Joel Duggan on any social media. I just posted a new episode of the Sizzle Cafe about a couple hours ago. So there's all kinds of stuff out there.
Nice. Matthew Descharme.
Can find my stuff on YouTube. Just do a search for Mathelod or Matthew Ducharme.
Got to be careful looking for Matthew's stuff on YouTube. So I'm going to type in Matthew stuff right in YouTube. It's going to come up. All right. I'm Brian Dunaway. Check me out at the Brian Dunaway on Twitter, briandunaway.com. Everything we do on this show is over at comicscoasttocoast.com. We have plenty of interviews over there. 300 and this is 319, so 318 worth of mostly interviews, some specials just like this. Go check them out. This is probably going to be our last episode of 2017 unless we get together and do like an end of year review, but I don't know how that's going to happen because Christmas is so busy for us guys. I'm also glad to say Patreon had a little bit of bump over the last couple of weeks, but they've changed their tune and they kind of made some things right with how they were going to planning on their new pricing. They're going to fix that. So if you're Patreon, thank you for hanging around. We love you guys. Thanks for being a patron, and we look forward to all good things next year in 2018. Have yourself a merry little Christmas, and we'll see you guys soon.
Part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Spoilers.
By the way, all the Christmas specials from the series that we watched, no one could sing. Everybody was the worst.
Even the Smurf sucked.